on the 4 basic rules of firearm safety. These were developed by Colonel Jeff Cooper. He decided there were far too many safety rules and nobody all when they needed them. So he came up with this shorter list of rules, which is easy to remember and yet still effective. Is every gun is always loaded. Now you would think that that's kind of a brash statement that, I know for a fact that there are some firearms out there that are not loaded, but it's more than being a statement of fact, it's a statement of attitude. We treat all firearms as if they're loaded 100% of the time. Because if we don't, if we establish 2 standards of behavior for handling a firearm, there is a possibility, us being human, that those 2 standards of behavior may cross over. And treating an unloaded gun like a loaded gun is not a big deal. The other way around, however, can have tragic results. Thus, all firearms are always loaded. It's rule number 1. Now, the second rule is to never let the muzzle of the firearm cover anything that we're not willing to destroy. In other words, we don't want to point the gun at anything we don't want to shoot. Not our fingers, not our hands. The third rule is we want to keep the finger off the trigger until such time as our sights are aligned with the target. There's never any need to fire an unaligned firearm, so why have your finger on the trigger? This is really the ultimate safety. Yes, there are mechanical safeties on virtually every type of firearm, but being mechanical safeties, anything mechanical is possibly subject to failure. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there is a possibility there. This gives us an insurance policy. Rule number 3, finger off the trigger till their sights are on the target. The 4th rule is to be sure of our target. Know what it is we're about to shoot at, and make sure that we have it positively identified. Know what's between the muzzle of that firearm and your target, and what's beyond your target as well. When we pull the trigger of that firearm and send that bullet downrange, we own everything from the muzzle of that firearm to where that bullet stops. There's no calling it back, and we're responsible for everything it passes through. Those are the 4 basic safety rules. These will keep you alive. There's another out there, just call it, use your common sense, don't be stupid. Trigger locks, now we do have a responsibility to store our firearms safely and control them from unauthorized access. We have a variety of rather inexpensive ways to do so. This is a trigger lock. Some firearms come with trigger locks installed internally in the firearms. Some come with an external trigger lock or a cable lock, which I'll show you here in a moment. But this trigger lock is merely a lock which you sandwich around the trigger guard of the firearm, and keeping access to that trigger controlled with a key lock. So that's going to keep unauthorized personnel from operating this firearm. We also have a cable lock. Now it's a little more difficult to demonstrate that. And to install the cable lock, you want to have the action opened so that you can place that cable lock through the action and lock it thusly. And there you have a secured firearm also. You can't install a magazine, you can't close the slide so that the firearm cannot be loaded. So this also gives you the capacity to lock this firearm to something to keep someone from walking away with it. Involves with a variety of type of entry controls, such as finger cipher locks or biometric fingerprint readers or combination locks or even keys. We do have an obligation to store our firearms so that they're not accessible by people who are not authorized to do so.